teeth. Too small. Too big. I ate too much for breakfast. Got a headache. It's raining. My dog is sick. I can't right now. I'm not inspired. Makes me smell bad. I'm allergic to stuff. I'm fat. I'm thin. It's too hot. I'm not right. I've got shin splints. Headache. I'm distracted. I'm exerting myself too much. I'd love to really, but I can't. I just can't. My favorite show is on. I got a case of the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday. I don't want to do this. I'm gonna do something else. After New Year's. Next week. I might make a mistake. I got homework. I feel bloated.
Hey ladies, welcome to Shatter with Dr. J. I'm your host, Dr. J. I am so excited for this week's episode. It is Get Over It, whatever it is. And so your it may be different from my it, but we're going to get over it together. Now, for you ladies who know me, you know I love quotes. If you don't know me, you need to get to know me. But I absolutely love quotes. I just think they are so thought-provoking. I think that they are helpful to hear a different perspective and quite intriguing. So I have a quote for you this week. And it is, "He that is good for making excuses is seldom good for anything else." And that actually is a quote by Benjamin Franklin. And I absolutely love that. You know, I'm the destroy the limits type of girl. And I have a special guest with me this week. And I thought I'd destroy limits. This lady is a limit destroyer, okay? So I want to introduce to you my special guest today, Elle Jones. I'm so happy to have you on the show today. And I think it's gonna be a really good conversation and a needed conversation. So
absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about Elle Jones and Elevate Now.
All right, well, Elle Jones is a wife. I've been married for 15 years. I'm also a mother and a grandmother. I have 2 grandchildren.
Wow.
But those are titles. Who I really am is a survivor. Wow. I'm a thriver. I'm a woman who truly believes in the power of story and helping women to really tap into their own unique voice and be unapologetic about who they are, what their journey has been, and then sharing that with the world, because I know that when we do that, we give the next woman beside us permission to live out loud.
You hear that? You got permission, ladies.
And unapologetically, yes. Professionally, I am a personal brand strategist and filmmaker. And I'm currently in production on my first documentary film. I also am the CEO and founder of Elevate Now Creative Media, which is a personal brand and video agency. And we specialize in helping women uncover the power in their story, craft a compelling brand message, and then share that message far and wide, leveraging video and film.
Awesome. I love the way you have that story like down. Like you ask some people what they're doing, they're like, I just kind of, but I love that. The way that you communicate that with such confidence and grace and makes me want to know even more about it, even though I know a little bit about it. So I absolutely love that. So if someone were to hear your story, we would say that you are not a woman of many excuses.
That's true.
But we all have excuses, and quite honestly, sometimes I think some of them are valid, you know, for that season of time. So what would you say to a woman who is recognizing their excuse, but really trying to take steps to overcome it?
The first thing is to recognize it and own it and say, how am I using this? Why am I using this thing? Whatever it is. And like you said, we all have valid, sometimes they're really valid excuses, but why am I allowing this to be the thing that prevents me from moving forward, the thing that prevents me from stepping into my calling, into my purpose? I was recently sharing with one of your producers that just a couple weeks ago actually, before coming here, everything about a recent diagnosis that I received should prevent me from even getting out of bed and just being here and enjoying the journey of being here. But I won't. I'm sitting here today with a vertebrae that's fused to my spine.
Ooh.
And a pinched nerve and a bulging disc. And the diagnosis is moderate spinal stenosis, where I may be required to have surgery. But my faith says that God has me covered. He's always had me covered. And when I think about the calling that I have on my life, and the people that I've been called to serve, that is greater than any excuse that I could ever have. But that's me. I haven't always been this way. It's been a journey. I'm a 20 plus year lupus survivor with heart disease, liver disease, and blood disease. And I feel like you have two choices in life when something hits you. You either sulk in it and you stay paralyzed by that thing, or you look at it and say, how can I leverage this to help me have the best quality of life possible and help somebody else? Yeah. Because there's always somebody else who's looking to us to see how we're moving. We might be the only light that they ever see. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I love that. It's two choices, and simply put, I won't. I love the way you said it. Like I just won't. It's a conscious decision. Now you mentioned when we asked who's Elle Jones, you mentioned being a wife, you mentioned being a mom, and I like that you see it as titles. But even as you have all of these different people and spaces that are pulling on you, how do you, and I don't even believe in this word, but how do you, I'll do air quotes, balance it all? How do you do that?
I'm the same. I think that this balance is elusive. It's this, thing that we think exists, and my balance is not going to look like yours. Your balance is not going to look like the next powerhouse woman who's doing amazing things. But for me, again, you'll hear me say this time and time again, it's going back to what I know I've been called to do. And it's also recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup. Yeah. This cup is full right now, so I can take this and pour it into another empty vessel. Yeah. But if I'm empty, then that means I can't serve my husband. I can't serve my children. I can't serve my family, my community, my clients. I'm not able to do that if I don't take time for me. And so sometimes it does require for you to be selfish. That's what the world calls it. But I call it self-care. Yeah. It's being selfless. It's saying, I need to reset. I need to spend time with God. If you need to go on a solo retreat, if you need to go to the spa for a day, whatever that is, read a book, do something that reinvigorates you, reignites you, re-excites you about the things that you've been called to do. Got it. And then also knowing that the things that you're doing are the things that you've been called to do, because when you are in alignment with the things that create joy, it's easier to get past those low moments. Yeah. So what comes along with it? And you talked about some of very practical things that we can do as women, but sometimes guilt comes along with it. Gosh. So how do you, in your mind, how do you win that battle in your mind with guilt of imbalance or putting yourself first? My son is here with me today.
Okay.
He's 12 years old. He's in the green room. Yay. And my sitter canceled at the last minute. So what do? Do I cancel coming here today? Or do I push through, come up with a plan, and make it happen? Wow. And so what I've done is, instead of feeling guilty about him having to sit in the green room, I shift my perspective and I make sure I have that conversation with him so that he understands what's going on. Mommy is doing something. She's sharing a very important message. And that's important for our family legacy, right? And so it doesn't just impact me. Everything that I do, it's not just for me. My family benefits from it, and everyone connected to me benefits from it. So he gets the benefit at 12 years old to see a television production and how it's run. And that's something that's of interest to him because he's interested in acting. Wow. And so it's really about shifting your perspective. It's the mindset piece, and we all have the power to do that, but it's a choice. Yeah. Everything boils down to a choice, because you can equip somebody with all of the tools, the strategies, the tactics, every single thing that has helped to make you successful, and give it to them on a silver platter. Yeah. But if they don't shift this and work on this, none of that matters. Nope. None of that matters. So yeah.
I love the communication piece, because I think sometimes as moms, as wives, whatever that role is, as CEO, I think that guilt sets in, and sometimes we're making it all up. Sometimes we're making it all up in our mind, how they feel, what they think. And so to open up this platform of communication, I started my PhD program when my twins were about 9 months, 9 months, and people are like, "You're crazy for this. You're gonna miss them growing up. You're gonna miss this. You're gonna miss that." And that guilt, when I tell you that thing set in, it set in on me, and I really had to, like you said, change my mind and think like, okay, well, I can see it as I'm gonna miss them taking their first steps. I'm gonna miss them trying table food, or I could take it as they're gonna watch their mom walk across the stage and talk to her.
Absolutely.
They're gonna see their mom like cook and take precautions at home and set up things in a way that are super organized so she can do her homework.
Yes.
They're going to see their mom going to the library. They're going to see their mom making new connections. And so I literally had to change it and not allow for other people to pile on top of that guilt that was already on my shoulders.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
and I love that you have so many hats and you're just rocking them.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not by my strength at all. It is definitely the grace of God. And I think that's important to say for me as a believer.
Yeah.
I know that everything that I've done, I'm not a superwoman.
Yeah.
I hate that title. I am not. I don't have any superpowers at all. But what I do have is God's grace and mercy.
Yes.
And it's what carries me from day to day. It really is. I have those moments when I cry and I'm like, Lord, why? After everything that I've been through, why do I have to deal with this? Why do I have to carry this cross now? But I understand that my purpose is great.
Yeah.
And so it's okay. We all have a cross to bear. We all have responsibilities. And when you think about what you are adding to your family and your legacy, as opposed to what they may be losing in the process, it's temporary.
Yeah.
It's temporary.
Yeah.
You might miss a couple things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's temporary.
Yeah. It'll be okay.
That'll be perfectly fine.
You'll be okay. They'll be okay.
Absolutely. And you said something really important about letting other people add that stuff. Not everyone is going to understand your calling, and they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
It's yours. God gave it to you. God gave you the vision. So whatever you do, you've got to be obedient in that.
Yeah. And preserve it at all costs.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So women are watching us. Yes. They're watching this episode. They're looking at you. They're looking at me, and they're like, well, they're an exception to the rule.
Absolutely.
They're an anomaly. And so for that woman who thinks that she cannot have concurrent seasons, that she has to just do this, and then when that's finished, just do this, like there's no sense of I can do, it all, or not at all, but it all that God's calling me to do right now. What advice would you give that woman to put her on this side where maybe they've elevated us to?
See yourself where you want to be. See yourself as that woman that you desire to be. I'm married now, but I was a single mom when I got married. My daughters were, 7 and 10.
Yeah.
When I married. I married a man that's 6 years younger than me. Nothing about my life or my upbringing says that I should be here today. My parents divorced when I was too young to even remember them being married.
Wow.
My father was murdered when I was 10. My mom was a functioning, she had her own vices.
Okay.
And she functioned very well with them, but highly educated woman. And she fought hard as a single mom to make a way for her daughter.
Yeah.
Right. And I share that part of my story and journey is because nothing was ever handed to me. So there wasn't this, I had these connections or these people that help, where it's like, it was easier for me to step into this.
Yeah.
And so the important thing is that I've always believed that I could do anything. Even when I was on food stamps and broke and my bank account was in the negative, I had eviction notices and cutoff notices for every utility in my home. I still believed that one day I would be in places like this. Yeah. I still believe that I would be a best-selling author. I still believe that I would be in entertainment. And it was the belief that kept me going even when it was super hard to do.
Yeah.
And so I encourage any woman that's in that space that feels like, oh, it's easier for them. Know that you only see one side of a person's journey most of the time.
Yeah.
But be willing to make the sacrifices necessary to get to where you desire to be.
Yes.
And it's possible.
Yeah.
It is absolutely possible for
and not
those.
just for you, and not just for me, but for every
Everyone.
single
Yes.
individual who has that level of belief.
Yes.
That's quite the stack of excuses that you've piled up there.
Yes.
And even still, God's purpose, His plan, and what He put inside of you is so much greater than what we allow to become a stumbling block instead of a stepping stool.
Yes.
And so I love that, even hearing more about those excuses. Well, I'm enjoying this conversation probably too much. So we've talked about what we want to talk about.
Yes.
I know that we have a lot of women watching, and they have their own questions that are formulating, but we have one of our audience who's going to join us, and she has a question. And so I want to go ahead and invite her to the stage. We have Amanda joining us today.
So being here today and hearing your story was so empowering. But my question is, how can someone like me muster up the boldness to tell my story, even when it may be embarrassing or when I feel like it's not even going to help anyone else?
Well, that's a good question. So my first response to that is a woman like me or someone like me. It's how you see yourself. That's the first thing. It's really, it doesn't matter where you currently are. I talked about in the last segment how even though I was dealing with being on food stamps. Yes, I had a job, but I was a single mom, and I was a struggling single mom. But that didn't stop me from seeing where I wanted myself to be. So I started speaking the way that I wanted to be seen, the way that I wanted to be perceived. I started carrying myself that way. So some people call it faking the funk. I call it speaking and walking it into existence.
Hey, perspective.
Okay, perspective is everything. So that's the first thing, shifting your perspective about how you see yourself. The second thing, as far as your story is concerned, we all have parts of our lives or our stories that are not really pretty.
Right.
Okay, those ones that we would rather just like tuck behind the pillow or under the rug. Trust me, we all do. But what I think is important, and I say this all the time, your story may be about you, but it's not for you. So that means that there's power in your story, and when you hoard it means not sharing it, it doesn't have a purpose. That means you went through whatever you went through and it's in vain. It's in vain that you went through it. But when you release it into the world, then it becomes a living, breathing thing that has purpose and it has healing and hope attached to it. And when you start to look at it that way, it becomes easier day by day, moment by moment, month by month to say, you know what, this is where I was, but it doesn't define me. It doesn't define who I am, and it doesn't define where I'm going.
That was awesome. That was really awesome.
I love the way that she kind of framed it as creating a greater honor and value for yourself. One of the things I was having a conversation about really recently was honoring every part of your story. And I'm not against social media. I promise I'm not, y'all. But sometimes social media will get us into this pattern where it's like we only want to take pictures of the moments of celebration. So it's like you have a baby, you take a picture of the baby, not the stretch marks or the mesh panties. Like, you know, like you listen. And so you've got to value all of those snapshots. And I think the other part of it, you will be shocked with the people who are actually touched by your story. I definitely, to me, I'm just talking, and what I think will be impactful, people skip right over that. And they're like, oh, I'm just so inspired by this. Or when you were packing your kids up in the car, and I'm like, wow, you're watching me? You know, and so as you honor your story, as you value your story, and you just live life as a woman led by Holy Spirit, as a woman led by God, people are watching. You yourself are a written, like living epistle read of men. And so everything, even though you may not think it's like this aha moment that's going to bring people into their next level, it is. The fact that you're living, breathing, and walking on this earth, people are watching and will simply be inspired by the woman you are. And God's taking you through this process for a reason.
Absolutely. And then just to piggyback really quick on what you said, Dr. J said, it's also about watching what you consume. We're consumers. So when you're going online, it's easy to see those snapshots that we willingly share, but we're super reluctant to share the other stuff, right? Yeah. So as a consumer of social media and information and visualization, you've got to be careful what you allow into your spirit, because then the comparison thief comes in, and then it makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I could never do X, Y, and Z. Look at how so-and-so, and it's all perception. It's perception versus reality.
Yeah. Yeah. So to answer your question, Minda?
That was great.
Listen.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on the show. And with that actually wraps up this week's episode. And it's okay, we're done today, but we've got more content coming for you. I just want to thank you for watching, as well as thanking our special guest today, Elle Jones and Elevate Now. Thank you so much. I've even received from this conversation even more than what I expected, and so I am so grateful that you took the time to be with me today. Thank you, Aminda, for your transparency and being willing to get on here and ask a question that a lot of women have, and they may not say it. And so I'm excited about everything that we're doing and how we're doing it together. So do me a favor, do yourself a favor, and subscribe to our channel so you know when that new episode drops. Also, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, follow our special guest, Elle Jones, Elevate Now, also Aminda, and just do life with us. We want to see you win. And until next time, destroy the limits, ladies.